إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. In previous khutbahs, we understood the power of speech Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the human being, the insan, and using it negatively could be very dangerous and it have negative impact in this dunya and hereafter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Qur'an in Surah Hujurat and Surah Humaza, about the backbiting and other sins which could be incurred by your tongue, by speech. And there are a number of hadiths where Prophet ﷺ has mentioned about the punishment and also how it is more worse than eating the meat of the flesh of the dead donkey and eating the meat of your dead brother. So there are different many hadiths mentioning the how it is impacting us in this dunya, and how it is like it's more worse than eating the dead meat of the dead animal. So, but Islam is a practical religion. It's a way of life, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does justice. It's not that we are just following blindly and it would be impactful in our life. So there are certain circumstances when the backbiting would not be considered as backbiting. The first is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that do not speak about evil unless it is said by the person who is being wronged or being oppressed. So if someone is being oppressed or someone has been wronged, so you can speak about that person who has wronged you. Otherwise, you will not get the justice. So if a wife or spouse speaks about her husband or a wife that she is being oppressed, then it is allowed to go and speak about him so that she can get the justice, and she can be removed from the oppression or the surrounding. And similarly, if somebody has been oppressed by her father or a boss or whatever, so oppressed one, a person who is being wronged, can speak about the oppressor, and so that they can get the justice. It's not good to be quiet and being oppressed, because Islam doesn't allow to be oppressed as well. So it's to stop them as well, stop being oppressed, and you should yourself as well should not be oppressed. So this is the first thing, that if you're being oppressed or being wrong, you have to speak out. The second circumstances is when you have to address someone, like if there is Abdullah and we have many Abdullahs or many Muhammad, so we have to say, or the black man, Abdullah the black man, or the blind man, or the squint, or the limb. If you're saying not from the intention of criticizing him or his defect or whatever thing, but we are addressing the person, to know who is the individual we are talking about. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Qur'an, Abasa wa tawalla, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about the blind man who came to Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ frowned. So he addressed by blind man, so to know who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about. So it's allowed in that circumstance, unless we are trying to criticize or we are trying to defame or humiliate him, whatever defect he's got. The third circumstances is that person is openly sinning, and you're talking about his sin and he doesn't care about, because he's openly sinning, he doesn't care about his sin. So if you're saying in publicly or behind him, he doesn't really care because he does it openly. So if you say something about him, even though we have to avoid, but it would not be considered as backbiting. The fourth circumstances is that when you come to know that someone is getting married to someone, or somebody is doing a transaction or business with someone, and we know that person is a corrupt man, or he's a deceiver, or he's a wrong person. So to stop them from going into that relationship or going into that transaction, because we're saving someone from the harm. So we are allowed to say that that person's profile isn't good. The person is known to be a liar or known to be a deceiver, and he has cheated many more people before that. So we see someone is going into a transaction or getting married, and we know that it is a bad person. We should know, Allah Alam, just go do istikhara and get married or do business. No, if we know someone, we have to tell them and stop the harm. So this is the fourth circumstances when we have to stop. We are allowed to backbite, and it's not considered as backbiting. The fifth is when we have to go and seek a fatwa. Then if you're going to seek a fatwa about something that the dealing or event what took place, we have to go and say about someone, like my father did this to me, or my wife did this to me, or husband. So we don't know the Islamic verdict. So we have to go and explain the sheikh or the teacher that what happened, explain them, and they will be giving the fatwa, the verdict based on the story. So you are allowed to say, because you have to say about the situation. It's not considered as backbiting. And the sixth one is to say to someone, like a wife, she thinks that my husband cannot be corrected by me saying, oh, I think my wife cannot be corrected by my saying. So she advised someone else. She tell the situation that, okay, my husband doesn't pray, my son doesn't pray. So to advise a sheikh, that advise him, to correct him, to rectify his mistake, you're allowed to say, because your intention is good and you are trying to improve someone. So it's allowed in these six circumstances. It's allowed to say something which is normally a backbiting, but in these circumstances, it would not be a sin, and the intention would be good. Apart from these, it's haram to backbite, and it will be sinful, and it will be impacting in this world and hereafter, and it's a punishable thing. And may Allah make us understand what we said and we implement on that, because it's a major sin to backbite, and it impacts in our mindset, which we have discussed about the scientifically and the psychologically, and how it impacts as an environment and people who are listening to the backbiting. So may Allah take us out from that. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبع بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Qur'an, إن الله ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Prophet ﷺ said that he asked his Sahaba that, and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that have I completed my job? Have I completed whatever Prophet ﷺ was received, the message that he was revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that he has completed his job. And al-yawm akmaltu lakum deena, the verse came and it said that the deen is complete. When I mentioned last khutbah that anything to add into the deen is considered as bid'ah, and it is said by Aisha radiallahu anha that if someone says that Prophet ﷺ did not do his job, he did not fulfill whatever is revealed to him, he did not convey to his Sahaba, then he is a liar. So we come to know that deen is complete. Nothing can be added and nothing can be removed from the deen. What is being obligatory is in the Qur'an, and then Prophet ﷺ showed us how to practice it. We are in the month of Sha'ban, and this is the month when Prophet ﷺ used to fast a lot, more than other months. And this is kind of a month where we prepare for the month of Ramadan. But if somebody is not in practice of fasting, he should not fast a lot, that he misses his fard, the obligatory fasting on the month of Ramadan. But it's good to fast Mondays and Thursdays so that you can come into the practice before Ramadan, that you don't get headache and stress when suddenly you're fasting and you get this stress. So your Ramadan will go good. But there is a day in this month where people think it is, especially to fast on that day is 15th of Shaban, and people fast on that day and think that that day is going to bless them and forgive their sins, and that's the day when the decree comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are many beliefs, many, but none of them are authentic, because we get the religion from Prophet ﷺ and from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Qur'an. And the Sahaba, they did it. So if they haven't done it, and if it is not mentioned in any Sahih hadith, then we should not be practicing it, because it comes into bid'ah. So 15th of Sha'ban, there is no special du'as, or there is no special fasting, or there is nothing to pray on that night extra, because the blessed day is even Friday. Prophet ﷺ said the blessed day is Friday. But there is another hadith where Prophet ﷺ said that if someone does extra ibadah on the night of Friday, then he is doing wrong. So even though the Friday is like Eid of the week, but we should not be adding something extra what Prophet ﷺ did not do. The only Hasan hadith which we can consider about 15th of Sha'ban is that it is a blessed day, but nothing more. All are fabricated hadith. People say that it is the day when the decree comes. It's in Anzalnahu fi Laylatul Qadr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said the Qadr came in the Laylatul Qadr, which is in Ramadan. So we have to search for it in the month of Ramadan, and not in this Laylatul Bara or Shabi Bara, whatever people call it. So this day this is a blessed day which we come to know from a Hasan hadith. It's not an authentic hadith again, but there are many narrations come, so we accept it. But there is nothing extra fasting to be done, or ibadah, or special prayers on this day. It comes into bid'ah, because Prophet ﷺ did not do, and the Sahabas did not do, and it's not mentioned in any Sahih hadith. So if we say that no, if we are fasting, what's wrong in fasting? We're doing extra ibadah. There's nothing wrong. So if we think like that, then why not add one more rak'ah in Salatul Maghrib? If we are praying 2 more sujood, we are doing an extra rak'ah. Why we are not doing? Because Prophet ﷺ did not teach us. There's only 3 rak'ahs in Salatul Maghrib. And some might say, okay, if you're saying that that is bid'ah, then using microphone is also bid'ah. Using carpet is also bid'ah. But that using microphone and the carpet is not for the worship. We are just using it for our comfort. We are not using microphone so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us more ajr. But it's something so that the voice would reach to the further point, so that you can be easily understanding that. So bid'ah is something adding in the religion, thinking that is going to be giving me ajr. And that's why we have, if we love Prophet ﷺ, then we have to do extra salat on Prophet ﷺ on the Fridays. Do what Prophet ﷺ asked us to do. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in, they used to, when they come to know that Prophet ﷺ did that, they used to do it. Why? Because Prophet did it. And when we are asked that Prophet ﷺ did that, it's a sunnah, we don't do it. Oh, it's only a sunnah, it's not fard. So think about yourself, reflect upon yourself, and inshallah this Ramadan, before this Ramadan comes, make sure that we would change ourselves. After Ramadan will be a changed personality, because it's 21 days, it's psychologically, it is proven that if you want to change your character, if you want to add something in your nature, like if you want to quit smoking, or if you want to quit some bad habit, or if you want to get something into you, that's the best time when you can practice, because psychologically as well, it is proven that you can change yourself. So it's a month of Ramadan coming, so practice it before that, make something, write down whatever you are doing wrong, so you can rectify yourself and correct yourself before the month of Ramadan. And it is said in a Sahih hadith that two friends, they became Muslim, and they were practicing same Islam, and one of them died, and the second one died after 1 year. Because the second one died after 1 year, his daraja, his level was very high than the previous one, because he got 1 more extra month of Ramadan. So the month of Ramadan is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can get forgiven. Our deeds will be multiplied multiple folds. So we have to practice it, and it should not be something to do bid'ah and instead of getting reward, we get sinful. May Allah make us understand and practice upon whatever has been said. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين وأذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر أعداء الدين اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها وأنت ولي ومولاها. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم واشكروه ويزدكم واستغفروه ويجعل لكم من أمركم مخرجا وأقيموا الصلاة.